clothing. You'll love the unique styles and colors. They also carry a great selection of beautiful jewelry as well. Whether you're shopping for yourself or a gift, you're sure to find something just perfect. The Joshua Tree Boutique, located at 110 East Court Street in beautiful, historic downtown Princeton, Kentucky. A truly unique boutique.
Hello, this is Gloria Smith with the Law Office of Jeff Russo. Are you buying or selling real estate? Are you planning on refinancing your existing home loan? If so, you should be aware that you have your choice in which attorney provides the legal services associated with such transactions. Our law office has over 50 years of experience in real estate law. We pride ourselves on being cost-effective and having a quick turnaround time. If you're in need of such services, call us today at 365-2763 or find us on the web at www.jeffrussolaw.com. We are located in downtown Princeton on the east side of the courthouse.
This is an advertisement.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better, it just did. Big John's Barbecue in Princeton is offering delivery. They'll deliver lunch to you. You must be in a 3.5-mile radius with a minimum order of $8 plus a $1 delivery fee per order. You can now enjoy Big John's Barbecue for lunch delivered right to you, or stop by their location on South Jefferson Street. Call your lunch delivery orders in advance to 270-963-3785. Big John's Barbecue, Princeton.
1580, 103.3 WPKY. Good morning. It is 51 at 8:42. We are joined this morning by Dr. Raymond Quatro and Jenna Jerger. Okay, I knew there was some J's going on there, just could not bring it up. Dr. Quatro is here to talk to us about healthy weight loss, and you're from Health First, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning, and thank you guys for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
So, weight loss is something that we all struggle with. I have been fighting the battle for over a year now. I lost 50 pounds, and that was it. I was done. What do you recommend for a healthy weight loss? How do you encourage people to just keep going once we hit these brick walls and we can't go anywhere else?
Well, that's one of the major problems with weight management, is actually keeping the weight off. So the fact of the matter is that about 80% of people who achieve their weight goals will put all of their weight back on, or most of their weight back on, within 2 years. So those are devastating statistics, but the flip side of that, of course, is that 20% of the people are able to keep their weight off. So how do they do it? There was an organization called the National Weight Control Registry, and if we have time, I'll look up the web address for you, but I think it's a very good website. And it's made up of a bunch of research psychologists, and one physician, I think, is on the board as well. So it has a distinctively psychological bent to it. It's not a medical organization. And they sat down one day, I think about 20 years ago, and said, what are these 20% of people doing that are keeping their weight off? How do they do that? And they decided they were going to find these people, and they have an organization now called the National Weight Control Registry that's made up of 10,000 people who have successfully kept their weight off for at least 2 years. And basically what they do is they send them a questionnaire every year, and they say, what are you doing to keep your weight off? And they fill out the questionnaires, they mail them back. The organization collates the questionnaires and then publishes a report every year. And the results are available on the National Weight Control Registry website if you want to Google it. And here's the web address. Let me just give it out now. It's the National Weight Control Registry. That's www.nwcr.ws. That's nwcr.ws. Some of the things that they recommend are not going to be earth-shattering. The number one predictor of weight maintenance, it turns out to be exercise. And the people who are exercising, about 90% of the people who are registrants of the National Weight Control Registry, their major exercise is simple walking. They don't do anything exotic. So a lot of them are walking quite a bit. The average is about 25 miles a week. Some of them are doing it on treadmills. Some of them are doing it outside. And about 70% of those people think it's important to have the ability to do the exercise in your home. So they have treadmills in their home. or ellipticals or those types of things. That's probably the number one predictor. Other things that came back in the questionnaire, people wanted to weigh themselves every day. They thought that was important. It's important to weigh yourself because if you don't weigh yourself and you wait till you can't get into your pants, then suddenly you've got 30 pounds to take off again, and it's a major issue where if you just weigh yourself and you're up a couple of pounds, you can take the weight off relatively easily.
So that's interesting that you would say that because, I've always, every weight loss thing I've read into or been into has said, don't get on the scale every day. You do not want to do that.
I disagree with that.
Uh-huh.
And I get on the scale every day. And like you, I struggle with my weight all my life. And I continue to struggle with it today, even though I've achieved my weight goals and been able to maintain that. But one of the ways I've been able to do that is to weigh myself daily. One of the other things on the weight control registry assumes that you're going to weigh yourself daily. All of these people, 94% of these people, had a plan of what they were going to do when they inevitably gained back a pound or two. And they had a written plan. It was on their hard drive of their computer. It may have been something very simple. I'm going to cut back 500 calories a day. Or it was very detailed. It mentioned specific foods they had problems with. It had a diet plan. And when they were up a couple of pounds, they would print this thing off. They'd stick it on their mirror and look at it in the morning when they were brushing their teeth. They'd stick a copy of it on the refrigerator, so they had to bash their way past it in order to open the refrigerator door. And it was something that all of them did, and I recommend that all my patients do that. And I call it a panic plan, and I have one for myself. But it assumes that you weigh yourself every day, or at least a couple times a week. The other advantage of weighing yourself every day is that you get this innate sense of your personal body metabolism. You can predict, at least I can predict after weighing myself pretty much daily for 10 years, I know before I get on the scale if I'm going to be up or down a couple of ounces. You just get that intimate with your own body metabolism. So I think I would disagree with that. I know that that's controversial even among bariatric medicine practitioners, but I recommend that to all my patients.
Dr. Archer, you said you have fought your weight management for the last 10 years or even longer. How did you get started in educating people about weight loss and working in the weight loss field?
Well, I'm an obstetrician gynecologist by trade, so I was operating for the last 3 decades at the Regional Medical Center, which is now Baptist. And about 15 or 20 years ago, I noticed that it was becoming physically more difficult, more demanding to operate on people because on average they were becoming bigger, and I would have to call my associates into assistant surgery. And I knew something was going on. They would call me into assistant surgery because they were operating on bigger and bigger people. And it wasn't clear to me what was happening, but I was getting women coming in asking for assistance in weight loss. And I didn't know anything about it. My approach to weight loss was, here's some phentermine, get out of my office, and come back in a couple of months and see how you're doing. But I didn't know anything about it. Then I was sitting down one day with a colleague. Some of your listeners may know her, Dr. Abby Rayner. She practiced medicine in Madisonville back in the 80s and 90s, and I was whining about how I was having difficulty operating on patients, and she looked at me like I was stupid and said, don't you know there's an obesity epidemic? This is maybe 1995, and suddenly, I must have given her the deer in the headlight look. It was an epiphany. I looked at her and I thought, well, of course there's an obesity epidemic. So it became something that was obvious to me that I didn't recognize. As people kept coming into the office and asking for more and more care, it was clear to me that they were not only overweight, but they were getting sick, they were getting diabetes, they were getting hypertension. It was becoming a real issue. And it was at that point where I started to try and get some information and some training outside of my specialty in order to do them some good. So it's been that kind of a challenge for me over the last 20 years, and specifically over the last 7 or 8 years when I became certified in bariatric medicine and clinical lipidology.
So once you did that, then did you go away from your obstetrician, I can't say the word, the gynecology?
I stopped doing obstetrics and gynecology about 2 years ago.
Okay. So
I
you did them both together for a while and then decided
Yeah, I'm kind of happy. I've delivered enough babies to make me happy, and My wife's happy that the phone doesn't ring at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore, so that's all good.
Sure.
But Dr. Quattro does still offer some women's health services in office as well, so.
Okay.
I just do office GYN now.
Gotcha. Okay. The program at Health First talk to me about that. Is there, what is the fee for that? How does that work? How does somebody get started in that?
Well, we accept all forms of commercial insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, and we offer financial assistance to patients that may need it. And that is in the form of what we call a sliding fee scale. It is based on income and household size. And so, depending on where you fall, we have 4 different categories that range from $10 to $25. So essentially, if you fall in that Class A, which is the $10 class, you could come to the office, have a visit with Dr. Quattro. Your office visit would be covered along with any labs, or if x-rays were required in an office visit, those would be covered too, all under that $10. So you can't beat that. We want to make sure that we provide healthcare services to everyone, and Dr. Quattro's services are available to anyone that needs it, so that financial assistance really comes in helpful for those individuals that need it.
And where is the clinic located?
Well, we have 7 locations in 6 counties. They include Calhoun, Clay, Earlington, Henderson, Owensboro, a location right here in Princeton, and Providence. Dr. Quattro actually practices in Earlington.
Okay. So would we need to go through the Earlington office to get with Dr. Quattro, or could we go through the Princeton office? What would we need to do?
To make an appointment with Dr. Quattro, you would actually need to contact the Earlington office, and the phone number there is 270-905-4084, and he is in the office Monday through Wednesday from 8 to 7.
Okay. Now, Dr. Quattro, I've got my first appointment with you. What can I expect when I go in to see you for the first time?
Well, we'll do a basic physical examination, a heart and lung examination, and it's weight focused, so we do bariatric measurements, neck circumference, waist circumference, that type of thing. It takes about an hour. We calculate your basal metabolic requirements. Beyond that, I can't tell you too much because the diet itself is going to depend on the individual. It's going to depend on what your lab work shows. We need fasting lab work, including a lipid panel, cholesterol panel. We need to know what your blood sugar is. The recommendations for actual management that I would make would be dependent on the individual and what their metabolic needs are.
Okay. So how often would we come in for a visit? Is it once a week? Is it based on individuals?
It takes a few weeks to get people really in the groove, so I like to see them every week for about 4 weeks. I have some teaching I have to do. These are long, drawn-out visits. There's a lot of information, especially in the first visit. Plan on being there for about an hour to an hour and a half. We use an internet-based app. I show them how to upload calories and things like that, energy, how to upload their exercise, how to navigate the app, how to manage their protein, which is a huge problem in people who are dieting. If you're losing weight, that's not the same thing as losing fat. We want to lose fat. We don't want to lose muscle. A lot of people come in light after the first week because they've lost a lot of fluid. We want to lose fat because that's where the metabolic problems are, and we want to protect muscle because we don't want to become, as medical practitioners say, sarcopenic. That's a fancy term meaning you're losing muscle. You don't want to do that. So it's very important to manage protein. I teach people how to do that. So if they're losing weight, they're not losing a lot of muscle. If you're not paying attention to your muscle and you lose, for example, 10 pounds, you can lose as much as 4 pounds of muscle and only 6 pounds of fat. Given that you may have maybe 50 pounds of muscle in your body, you've just lost 10% of your lean body mass. That's a disaster. So we want to try and avoid that.
Do you offer and I can't remember the name of it, but the machine that you can stand on and it reads your hypothermia, or not hypothermia, but your thermal temperature?
I asked for a body analyzer from Santa Claus for Christmas, but unfortunately, At $20,000, I woke up Christmas morning. The cocoa and cookies were gone, but there was no body analyzer under the refrigerator, under the Christmas tree. So there are some handheld ones. I don't think they work very well. You can buy them on Amazon for about $20. I had 2 of them, and they registered absolutely different values, so I know they're not calibrated well. They're probably worthless. But yes, I'd love to have a body analyzer. We are just a small rural clinic out in the middle of western Kentucky, and we just it's not something that's it's likely to show up in a small clinic. Those things are seen mainly in large hospitals and research facilities, but they're great. I've been on them. I've shopped for them. I tried to get Methodist Hospital to buy me one. They didn't want to spend the money either. So,
yeah.
No, we don't have a body analyzer.
Okay. So how do you measure then?
We measure according to BMI, and we follow weight, and we try and minimize muscle loss, and that's about the best we can do. And I think I think using the body analyzer, I think there's better ways for me to spend money on patients than to pay $20,000 for a good body analyzer. I mean, there are a lot of things we could do. You can give free metabolic screening. We've been doing some of that kind of stuff, but I mean, all that stuff costs money, and I think that kind of money is better spent using better investments for community health than a body analyzer. I really don't need that to manage patients. I can't tell them exactly how much fat and how much muscle they've lost, but I can tell them that what studies predict they're going to lose based on what we know from science and randomized clinical trials. You can lose as much as 97% fat and only 3% muscle under ideal circumstances. So those are the circumstances I try and keep people to. And I haven't had a lot of trouble with people losing a lot of lean body mass. It's something that you really have to worry about, though, and your point is well taken. We often get people coming in who are scheduled to have a gastric bypass, or they're scheduled to get a knee replacement, and their orthopedic surgeon wants them to take off 50 pounds before he'll replace their knee. And if they're not careful, they'll take off 50 pounds with a lot of muscle, and they have a successful knee replacement, but they don't have enough strength to get out of the wheelchair anymore. You can't call that a successful surgery. That's a failure. So we have to be careful about that. That's easily documented. And before and after MRIs, you can see the difference through the cross-section of the upper thigh. The muscle is just gone. So we have to be very careful about those things, and I'm personally very attuned to it, and I spend an hour in one appointment talking to people about maintaining their muscle mass and how to manage their protein.
And I guess that was kind of my question. How do you know the muscle to fat loss ratio? How do you determine that?
I can't give patients an exact number. All I can do is tell them the ways to minimize it. And whether you have a body analyzer or not, if you give them the best diet possible, that's what the results are going to be.
Okay. Do you have a particular diet that you recommend? Do you follow certain guidelines? What is your typical for?
Again, the diet that I put people on is dependent on what their metabolic problems show and what their lipid profile shows, what their fasting glucose shows. For example, in my case, I'm pre-diabetic. I was hypertensive. My lipid profile was kind of ratty looking. I was insulin resistant. So I did quite well on a low carbohydrate diet and a high fat, high protein diet, which is what I maintain today. Other people who don't have that problem will do well on other kinds of diets. There's no one diet that's going to be best for everyone, and it shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all approach. It really does need to be individualized.
I see. Dr. Quatro, we have run out of time. I mean, we could go so many directions with this conversation. It is, in 1995 it was, whether you realized it or not, it still is. Obesity is an epidemic, and if we're not obese, we're still overweight. And it's hard. It's hard to keep ourselves, on a diet, and it's hard to, I go to the gym 4 days a week and I work out, and I even eat healthy. But on the weekends, I'm going to eat sugar, or if I don't, even if I go for 2 months and don't eat anything bad, I'm still not losing the weight. So it's a struggle. It's a constant struggle. I like something that you said that I'm going to have to get back into. You said that people found that they kept the weight off by just simply walking every day. And I mean, I'll still continue to go to the gym because I'm building the muscle that I have never had before. But I think I need to add some walking in there. I think maybe that might be my key.
Can't hurt.
Nope, can't hurt. Well, the only thing it can hurt is my sleep, because I come in here at 5 a.m. in the morning and I don't get off my other job till 5 p.m. in the evening. And so it's kind of like by the time I get home, I don't want to walk, but I'm going to have to start making myself get on that treadmill, I think. How many minutes a day would you recommend?
I recommend, it depends on the individual. If somebody comes in that weighs 400 pounds and can hardly walk, I'm not going to put them on the treadmill for 2 hours a day. I'm happy that they get on the treadmill and walk for 5 minutes a day. So basically we'll put people, if they have a treadmill at home, which is great, or an elliptical, and they're not using it, which is the case in a lot of people. They've got
a coat rack.
pothos ivy growing on it or something like that. The main thing is I want them to get used to exercises just like they're used to brushing their teeth in the morning. And if they can just do that at a certain time every day, for just a few minutes every day, in front of the television set or listening to music or reading a book on the treadmill, then suddenly they're up to 10 minutes a day and then 15 minutes a day. And again, it's not so much the calories that they're losing with exercise. It's much more important. Exercise is much more important in the weight maintenance phase, keeping the weight off. And it seems to be a psychological reasoning behind it. It's not a calorie reason. People are used to doing this. It kind of focuses them on their health. It focuses on the fact that they had a weight problem. Maybe they don't anymore. They don't want to have one, so they're going to keep doing this. And exercise has a whole lot of other benefits. I mean, your heart's better, your lungs are better, everything's better with exercise.
Jenna, did you have anything else you need to add about the program, about Health First, about anything before we wrap up today?
Well, if you would like to make an appointment with Dr. Quatro, you can contact our office. Again, the phone number is 270-905-4084, or you can call us toll-free at 1-877-667-7017. Dr. Quatro is located in Arlington at 107 East Main Street. His hours are Monday through Wednesday, 8 to 7, so extended hours for individuals that work. We invite you to become a patient.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raymond Quatro, Jenna Jarger from Health First. We sure do appreciate you guys taking the time to come in here this morning and talk to us.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Healthy weight loss, that's what it's about.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Rain today until about 5 o'clock when it's going to turn to snow, and the temperatures are going to fall to around 34 today. Cloudy skies overnight with an overnight low around 22. Cloudy tomorrow with a high of 38. Partly cloudy overnight tomorrow night with an overnight low around 11.